Hi, I'm Jenny from Raw Art Designs. In this video we're going to continue doing the timber look, but using it more with colour, so it gives like a distressed timber look. And you'll be learning to do a very simple pink hydrangea and some different very simple leaves. So the timber look doesn't always have to be done in brown. We can have that coloured, weathered looking timber. So when it's been painted a colour and has that nice weathered look. So I'm going to do this background in turquoise. So I'm first of all just going to get the colour on. So I just want to cover our canvas in the colour of your choice. Doesn't have to be turquoise. But you might like to use blue or pink. There's a couple of steps to this one. A little bit close to the brown there. So I've got that covered in, then I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and just pull some white through while it's wet in random spots. So I've got a bit of highlight of white through. This is helping create that weathered texture. And then I'm going to do the same with some burnt umber, so the dark brown. And I'll just grab a little bit more turquoise just in case I put too much on my brush. So you don't want to have too much on your brush when you do this, and it does need to be, the paint does need to be quite wet, so even if you just double load. And we're going to come and add some texture through with the burnt umber, just a little bit to start with. Be darker in spots. And think about where it's going to show up on the painting too, because remember we are going to do those nice big hydrangeas. So I've just got streaks of that through, and then while it's still wet I'm just going to come along the sides, and I haven't got much on my brush at all, and I'll do some darker, some longer, just doing some sides here. And then when this dries, we will come back and do the actual timber lines this time. So I've hardly got any on my brush. I'm just flicking it out into the painting. That sort of give that nice weathered look. And then when it's dry, we'll do in the lines of the timber as well, so then we can see that it is actually, the flowers are growing on the, I guess it would be a fence or something. So yeah, so dry that off and come back and we will put in the timber lines. Alright, so now our background is dry, we're going to do the hydrangea part. So we're going to have two, so using a little flat brush, just getting some magenta and making a circle up the top that we're just going to miss a little bit of the circle. We're just going to make it more like an apple sort of shape, love heart sort of shape. So we're just getting a coat of the magenta down. And then a big circle down the bottom. So this is just our base coat of the flower. You could be doing the bluey coloured hydrangea, bluey purple one if you wish. I just like the pink on this turquoise, it stands out really nicely. Don't worry too much about your edges because we are going to overlap them. Now while that is wet and drying, I'm just going to grab, still using my little brush, you may find it easier with the pointy brush. We are going to do our timber lines, so thinking about where your center is, so that's where the center is. I want to have no, actually no, I want 4 lines, so we're going to do the best we can to do a line going across to make it look like the panels. Didn't do that very even, but that's okay. And don't worry if they're a little bit wonky. And if you want to add just some more smaller little grain lines in, you can. So that will look like our wood. And then while that's drying, we're going to grab our little brush, little pointy brush. And we're going to have some fun doing the hydrangea. So the petals are little, I sort of like nearly stamped them on there. And I'm going to start loading with pink and the white and just turning around, doing little, I like little star shapes. Do overlap them. I'll do darker ones down the bottom of our hydrangeas and also just do some petals coming off the edges. But you want to start at the top one first so that your hand is not smudging anything down the bottom. We're just going to build that up. Now if your petals start getting, you end up with too much paint in your brush and your petals aren't pointy anymore, which mine are starting to do, just rinse your brush out and pull it back into that nice point. Oops. Some are bigger than others and that's okay. And then as you get more towards the top, you can make them a little bit lighter. So nearly white they are. I'm just showing a little bit of pink. There are many different tutorials on how to do hydrangeas. This is just a very easy beginner one. You can of course do more detail. And now I've just noticed I'm doing that it's looking more like lines of petals on this one. I probably haven't spaced them out very well. So make sure you overlap some of them. We don't want it just to look like lines of petals going across. Don't know where that green's coming from, somewhere. Alright, then we're going to start doing the same down the bottom. Now if you wanted to, you can start with your lighter colour first and come down. I might make these a little bit more. And then we're going to come in and dot the centres with yellow when it's dried. And then we'll start doing it a little bit darker towards the bottom. Oops, that one. Some of them are getting quite big. Alright, we'll let them dry a little bit. And then I'm going to come in with my flat brush again. I've got a little bit of the darker green left on my palette from another painting. I'm just loading my brush with the green and a little bit of a yellow, so it's double loaded. And we can then do some stems. So coming from the corner, and I'm going to do some down the bottom here. And some more leaves, or the stems are going to be here. Now, hydrangea leaves are quite interesting shape, so you can, using this brush, do a center line. Coming off the page and just we're going to fill, it's like how to explain it, it's like a just doing lines on the leaf, but they're very close together, so it's not like really a palm leaf, because then we'd have a gap in between. We want to fill that in. Just do another little one. Whoop. That one at the top I might just go over again it. Okay, so then we want to come in and dot the middles. Now you can either use the end of your brush and just do some tiny little dots, or if you have a dotting tool of some description, you may find that a little bit easier, which is what I'm going to do. So we're just going to come in, dot our centers in yellow. Right, we can take our masking tape off. Just be careful if your leaves are still a little bit wet. Alright, and there we have our rustic or weathered turquoise timbered look there at the back with very pretty hydrangeas. Hope you have enjoyed this lesson, and we will see you in tomorrow's.